we need to be really conscious of what we call as analysis paralysis. We should not get too much into this phase where potentially we might fall into the pit of this analysis paralysis, where we start something and then keep going without actually realizing anything. There's no benefit coming out of it. There's no clear deliverable coming out of that analysis, and that's what is definitely one big problem that we used to have with waterfall. So with waterfall, I mean, at least I've got 10 years of working in waterfall type of projects, traditional type of projects, with the development life cycle more top heavy, which is into spending more and more of your effort and time into creating business case, getting budgets and requirements and all that architecture, that by the time you actually come to the core development of that and implementation of the solution, you've actually perhaps finished 80% of your budget. So the rest 20% is to be used for the 80% of the work, which is not viable, and that's why most of the IT projects used to fail. So it's important that you need to understand that analysis is important, but then too much of anything is dangerous. So the same with here as well. And that's why we should be conscious of when this could be possible. It could potentially happen when you don't have any deadlines, no time boxes, no timelines, no deadlines, no potential milestones, and therefore it goes on and on and on and on. People come and then they keep giving their views, their preferences, their opinions, and it just goes on and on. There's no deliverable at the end of that. And also there are no clearly defined objectives and structure. That means that there are no goals. Nobody's keeping track of these. Everybody has got their own say, and no planning involved in this whole thing. So that's why most of these traditional type of projects used to fail, because of this, where there was no clarity. People change, the way things change so rapidly, but still the way that you originally started the plan, the project plan, still continues. It doesn't take in any of these changes that happened in the resources, in the technologies, in the customer requirements, in the user needs. Nothing of that used to be taken on board, and therefore it used to fail. By the time you complete that and then deliver at least the first deliverable, it's totally mismatching with what is the current reality at that point of time. So it's important that we need to understand that too much of analysis is not really good. So we need to start delivering as soon as possible. And that's why with Agile, it's all about delivering a shippable product, a potentially shippable product as soon as possible. Thing that really works, the mobile application that you're supposed to work and deliver, the web application that you're working on, that is what is a deliverable, not the document, not the requirements document. Requirement document is only supporting that. So your user stories are actually supporting the delivery of the real value, which is the end product. So with Agile, with flipping this pyramid, we are trying to actually try and push that out of our door into the customers and the users' hands as soon as possible. So it's not years and years, but we're talking about weeks and months by the time we actually kind of deliver the first product, and then continuously improve that and keep delivering it every month. So that's where the real value is. So it's not in the analysis, not in the tons and tons of documents that you create. And also it's important that we should not have this tendency to kind of keep going. And there's no point actually kind of looking at things without actually delivering value. Again, that comes from not understanding what is a ground reality, right? And that could be another thing why, for example, it could be because of fear that we don't want to stop this analysis. We don't want to actually stop this or just say that this is a logical conclusion. Let's move on. Let's try and deliver. Analysis is enough. Now let's design, let's deliver, let's develop, and let's push it out. That could be because of various factors like fear. For example, if I do that, then what is my relevance as business analyst in the team? I may not be seen as important, and rather the focus would be on the developers, which is really not the right thing, because a BA has got as much of importance as a tester and as a developer. It's not as if it's like a body, human body. It's not that one organ is important or more valuable than other. It's not like that. Every organ in a body is contributing equally to the functioning of the whole body. Similarly, within the context of a development team, every role, whether you're a BA, an architect, a developer, a tester, a designer, an SME, doesn't matter. Each of them has got their own role to play. They bring their own value to the table. So it's important that we should understand that we are not going to make ourselves any inferior nor nor dispensable by actually trying to stop something which is not offering any more value. So that's what is important. And then indecision on the part of the stakeholders, when they're not able to make any decision in terms of where we're going, where we're heading, which direction we should go through, what is the kind of pace we should try and adapt, are we in the right track or not, if they're not guiding us, if they're not having that strategic vision, and if they're not having that kind of oversight in terms of the project where it's heading to, obviously that would mean that it is going into a completely different direction, which is not supposed to. So that means that there should be a kind of a hand on the pulse of the project's health. That's very important, not only from the senior management but also from stakeholders, from the team. And that's why agile really works brilliantly, because you've got the touch points with the stakeholders, with the customers, with the users, with the product management team, with the senior management, with the quality. It's happening almost every if not every day or every week, every month. There's definitely one option, because a sprint is supposed to be like 2 to 4 weeks. The maximum is 4 weeks. So in this time, if not during the sprint, at least in the end of the sprint, in the beginning of the next sprint, you have the touch point with your stakeholders, with your product owner, with the product management team, with the senior management team, with the sponsors, to showcase the product as it is being formed, to discuss the process, the sprint retrospective, to discuss how we've been doing, what we have done. So that's a great opportunity for them to look into what's happening and then be able to take a decision, right? So very, very important. It's actually what the lack of the decision making, the right time, in the right place with the right people, would definitely lead to a lot of analysis paralysis. And what does this really lead to? It would definitely lead to a lot of delay in the project implementation, because we keep thinking about the what and analyzing, and then there's no output, and there's no tangible outcome from the project in terms of what is delivering real value to the end users and the customers and the stakeholders. And also it could potentially create a lot of scope creep, as what we call, because you keep adding, you find something you've done, that this is the scope of this project, and then later you keep doing the analysis, and then you find further things, and you say that no, you know what, we need to change this scope. Now keep adding the further functionality, and then with that, what is happening is your scope is only going to increase further and further, without actually delivering even a simple thing, even a single thing there. So that's why it's very important that we should avoid the top heavy structures. We should have a kind of a clear hierarchy, clear structured approach, where everything has got an equal importance, equal weightage in your product development life cycle. Increased risk, obviously there is a lot of risk with this approach, because we've not done anything, we've not heard anything from the users in terms of the feedback. We don't know whether we are in the right direction, because we don't have any delivery. We have not delivered anything to them. When we didn't deliver anything, how can we expect feedback from them? So we are bound to fail, not faster, not quicker. We are bound to fail later, much later. There is so much of delay in terms of our failure, that is going to actually accumulate all the costs that we're going to to incur in this period, plus the cost of rework. So a lot of those things would definitely affect the overall risk to the project. And the wrong decisions, again, we discussed this, important that we need to have the right decisions taken at the right time. Otherwise, it's going to affect the overall progress of the project, and that would lead to the project failure. And that would add on to the, all of these we're making unnecessary complexity out of nothing, because it's all about analysis, as I say, is all about breaking things down. And you're trying to make, if you've got a huge block of things, if you've got a mountain in front of you, for example, you want to go through the mountain, you want to either get on the mountain, you want to go through the mountain, clear the way. The best way for that is to break the mountain. You can't just stand in front of the mountain and say, oh, this is too huge, this is really big, this is humongous, how can I do that, how can I do that, how can I cross this mountain? No, start by breaking that mountain into smaller and smaller rocks, and the rocks and boulders which will slowly form small little stones, and those might actually start breaking things. And the moment you break those boulders into small stones, and the stones will actually become pebbles, and the pebbles will become granules, and then they'll give way to you in terms of where you want to go. So it's important that you need to have that kind of functional decomposition to analyze, to create those kind of things further and further, and start making progress. Otherwise you're stuck in the same place forever. So what does that mean in order to avoid, what do we need to do as BAs to be able to overcome this analysis paralysis issue that we were talking about? Very important. Time boxing is one definite recommendation, because it would make sure that the deliverables are planned well in advance, and then they are not just planned because you've got a release plan. For example, within the release plan, you've got a major release, minor release. Within the minor release, you've got that sense of, okay, I've got this window of 3 weeks, and within the 3 weeks of iteration, I can plan, I can estimate, I can design, I can develop and deliver 5 of these functionality. Great, so do that. And after the 3 weeks, I've got another 3-week window where I can deliver another 5. So by the time you actually finish those 6 iterations, which is roughly about 4 months, you've got a good number of functionality being worked on and delivered in smaller chunks. So it's always beneficial to have the time box, so you're not really wasting your time just thinking what I should do, what just planning and preparing yourself, but you're actually trying to deliver things from the day one, which is really important. And then always the other thing is the Pareto principle, as what we say, the 80-20 rule. Very important, because this actually is a great tool that would help you in prioritizing your work, your resources, your efforts, your time, your budgets, everything. It's very, very brilliant rule, because as we discussed, this 80% of the time, it's the 20% of the resources consume 80% of your effort, and vice versa. And the same thing in terms of the results as well. Sometimes even customer, when you try and segmentation, when you try and do your customer segmentation, you can find that 80% of your revenues come from the 20% of the customer base, and the remaining 80% of your customers are actually contributing just about 20%. So who are your valuable customers, and that net worth in terms of who is delivering the maximum bang for the buck. You can try and focus on them more than others. It doesn't mean you just ignore the others, but you need to kind of help prioritize which of the customers, which of the places you need to actually spend more effort, time, and resources than the others. Where is the real value add? Where is the maximum bang? And that's where you need to really kind of deliver. And that's why 80-20 rule is a very important principle here, the Pareto principle, as it's called. A vision statement is very important, because the vision, mission, values, VMV, as what we call, these are very important, because they would be the key drivers for you as to why you're doing something. So they're giving you the fuel to continue this journey in terms of product development. Every time, go and check back. Am I doing the right thing? Am I fulfilling the original vision that I have set out for? What is my mission? What are my values? What is my set of objectives? What strategies do I have? What are the tactics that I have identified? Are we trying to align each of these? If there's a misalignment anywhere, then that means that we're not really in the right path. So we need to kind of understand this from that perspective, and keep that as north, keep that as a kind of a check every time whether we're in the right direction or not. And also important is to keep the scope in check. So always keep looking at what is in the scope. Are we doing? It's not just about the direction, but it's also about how much of the scope that we have got covered. Are we really going out of this or this dimension, or are we in? What is that we're really trying to achieve out of this? Are we expending? Are we spending our effort, resources to achieve what is relevant to us, or it's not relevant? So that's the whole idea. So very important to make the plan and stick to it. So very important. It's not about having a plan, but it's about planning continuously, trying to meet a moving target, and trying to make sure we're delivering on that. That's the important goal with the scope model.